Hey, look at those shit buildings. Winston told me before we turned on the cameras to talk about them, so...
And talk about these shit buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at this. Actually, this is a little interesting. We should talk more about what we see, because
Yeah.
you wonder why these buildings look so shit, right? It's not because they're poor or building quality is bad. It's because these old tiles were these old tile buildings were the main way to combat against like typhoon winds and like bad weather, and also earthquakes. So you can't have, back in the day, you couldn't have these massive tall buildings, because if you had built them in that same way, then they would collapse during earthquakes, which Taiwan gets a ton of earthquakes. I mean, I used to feel them all the time. I lived here.
I don't know, man. Like, okay, yes, the height maybe, but yeah, then those little concrete shell buildings are also just really cheap to build.
They are as well, for sure.
And on top of that, the tiles mean less maintenance because you don't need to paint them.
Right. But anyway, stuff looks really bad after typhoons rip through, and you know, it's just not good. But anyway, I am going to talk about something that is not related to that. Well, kind of semi, because it's about the environment.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about how China uses soft power to promote its green image, or being a world leader in green technology and less carbon emissions and all this kind of stuff. And I'm going to talk about how that kind of soft power and those kind of lies work on honest people and honest nations. So
Yeah.
recently you've been looking at a lot of Forbes and Wall Street Journal and all these articles from different fairly reliable news sources that people read often about China's kind of leading the world in all of this technology. And they're making swearing that this said city is going to be the green city of 2025, and we're going to reduce carbon emissions by the greatest margin of any nation of all time.
Yeah.
We're going to reduce pollution we finished our industrial revolution. We're going to reduce pollution to the point where there's no pollution left in China, and people are going to copy us. Japan's going to copy us in the way that we do things.
Mm-hmm.
And living in China, you'll quickly see that none of that exists.
No.
And it's even worse in some places than when I first went to China, to the point where like there's entire towns that are under like 999 pp pollution levels daily, right?
Sure.
Because the manufacturing has just moved outside of the areas that the spotlight has. So you don't have factories downtown in Guangdong cities anymore. You have them a little bit further inland, right? It's just moved the problem. It's displaced the problem. It hasn't actually solved the problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're making big strides to try and clean things up. They are putting in a lot of effort, but the problem is the way things work in China can sometimes be counterproductive. I'll give you a case.
Okay.
Let's see, when was it? 2015 maybe?
Okay.
I can't remember, sorry, this terrible bike. Give me a second. Let's not go too fast, otherwise it's too much wind noise and stuff.
Gotcha.
Slowing down. Does that mean no? Yeah, that's the freeway. No bikes on the freeway. Okay.
Yeah. It tried to make us go on it.
I think it was 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll look it up. But when we were having that big university games in Shenzhen,
right?
They wanted to project the image that Shenzhen is a very green city. Right?
Sure.
It is actually quite a green city. There's lots of parks and stuff, right?
Right.
But in order to give it a better image, they decided that they'd put up these streetlights, okay, on all the main roads where all the visiting people were going to drive on.
Right.
So you've got all these big streetlights with little solar panels and wind turbines on them, right?
Right.
So as if they're self-sustaining streetlights. And when you look at them, you say to yourself, wow, like that's very green and very progressive. Look, they've got wind-powered streetlights.
Right.
Turns out they were fake.
Right.
And in fact, it took power to turn the wind turbines. So, they were fake, and they were using power to turn the little propellers.
Them. I have the exact same story in Inner Mongolia, but I've already told it. So that's really funny.
Yeah, so they eventually tore them all down because they all started to break and stuff. And, it was very obvious they were fake. Like, there's the solar panels didn't have any wires coming out of them or anything. It was just like a show. And so that's where things can get dangerous, because they say, yes, look how green and great we are, and the reporters come in and maybe Forbes or whatever does an article, and they will film those like wind turbine things and say, look at all this innovation and stuff. Meanwhile, it's fake, and it's actually wasting resources to make them.
I was going to say, it's counterintuitive, right?
And it's wasting resources to power them, and that's how China works.
Right. So the reason that I like your story, that was a good aside. Now, the reason that people buy this, right, the reason that people believe this stuff in the West is because although the West is, you know, well known for having media bias, we are not accustomed to, in our home countries, go left, to be blatantly lied to about government initiatives. So like, for example, if I lived in a small town and they said, hey, we're going to replace this stoplight, right? It probably is going to happen. In China, when the government says things, it oftentimes doesn't leave the board meeting room with the party officials, or if it does, the money gets squandered somewhere else. Or,
Sure.
So the papers come out, and all this money and proof that the money is being spent, and all this stuff comes out. Then Western media jumps on it and says, hey, look at how well they're doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, nothing actually happens. So there is a bit of a pickle when you read news about China, both positive and negative. It's very difficult to get a real kind of lens or perspective as a, you know, an outsider reading a Western journalist report about Chinese, you know, policies and stuff. We're gonna have to go right
Over here?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wanted to jump on that and actually steer the conversation in a slightly different direction.
Okay.
And that was
Kind of like this road.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm just trying to think what it was. Hang on. I lost my train of thought, so I was thinking...
Nice. I didn't lose my scooter of thought.
Yeah, there you go. Down with the sickness.
I'm down with the sickness.
Yeah, no, hang on a second. It was important.
Sorry.
Oh, yes. I got it. So...
He's got it.
Yeah. The thing is, you know, scientists recently discovered this massive hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah.
And they were like, what on earth's going on here? And they finally traced the source to China.
What a shock.
Yeah, the shock and horror. And of course it was unlicensed illegal factories using illegal chemicals
Right.
in the middle of China somewhere where like it's very difficult to find them.
Right.
And so it doesn't matter what China tries to do, they're still causing so much damage to the environment.
Right.
It's undeniable if you live there, if you just see the amount of waste. You know, like when the way Chinese people do things is they will buy something like an e-bike. They buy an e-bike, right? We see this all the time. They buy some crappy e-bike. They never maintain it.
Right.
They ride it till it breaks, then they throw it away and buy a new one.
Right.
Okay? So they generate a lot of waste, whereas, you know, in the West, we're more apt to, you know, maintain our e-bike. So if we buy an e-bike, if something goes wrong with it, we'll like fix it up and keep it going, and you know, so it doesn't become waste and replaced all the time.
Right.
And that goes with almost everything. So there's huge amounts of waste because there's no maintenance mentality there, right? So basically buy something, it breaks, throw it away, buy a new one.
Right.
You've got that going on, and you've got all these really cheap lead acid batteries that are being manufactured, and then the chemicals that they use to like recycle and strip the lead out and stuff runs off into the, you know, into the water table and stuff. Right. And there's tons of like situations where like rural villages will contract cancer and stuff because of a nearby illegal little factory, and it gets covered up, and because of bribery and stuff, nothing ever gets done. And you'll have situations where they basically will what's going on here? Left, okay, sorry. This is a hook turn, dude. It's a hook turn. Gotta go here.
Oh, is it?
It's a hook turn, yeah.
Oh, it's a hook turn. It's a hook turn.
Yep. And you just get these situations where, for instance, they completely fish the sea dry of any sea life, you know, in and around. So that's why they're catching Chinese fishing boats, you know, off the coast of South Africa all the time, and off the coast of wherever, because they just go wherever they want, because they've fished the seas dry around China. Right. And this is a big issue. This is not something that can be fixed. Not easily, and it's not like, oh yeah, we're going to be this green nation. Fix your damn problems first before you try to innovate. Right. You know,
before you try to be a global leader.
You can't be a global leader if you're a global follower at the moment.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't be a global leader when you're destroying the ozone layer.
Yeah, you're destroying the ozone layer, destroying your own environment, your own people's health, fake vaccines. You know, like just doing everything wrong. You can't all of a sudden say like, oh, but we're going to show the world how to do it. I think
China's getting incredibly haughty.
Arrogant is the right word.
Yeah. Right now, in its current position in the world, and it's using these. It's very clever, right? We're talking about China like it's a person, but if China was a person, he'd be very clever because he knows how to manipulate the crowd outside, because people are too trusting, right? it knows through its deception and lies and soft power that it can change and sway opinions, and that's how it becomes the global leader in green technology.
And
right?
that was where we were going to take this conversation, and that is that this kind of stuff only works on honest people, right? Think about it this way: if you're a con artist, all right, and you basically go up to someone and you say, "Hey, man, you know, someone stole my wallet, and I really need to take a bus. Can you please help me out with like $20?"
Right.
Like an honest person who's used to people telling the truth and everything would be like, "Sure, man, of course I'll help you out."
That's a good analogy.
Can I help you out? But you know, you can be a complete liar, but if you try that on a dishonest person, you're like, "Hey, man, I need money." They'll be like, "Get lost, man. I know what you're up to."
I know what you're up to.
Yeah, let's go.
Right. For sure. And the general populace of Western nations, I think, are quite trusting.
Incredibly trusting. That's why, you know, Chinese people are incredibly successful at worming their way in through immigration and stuff.
Right.
I hate to say that, but you know, I've got a lot of subscribers and stuff who've been burned really bad by sort of marrying someone who comes over and like a year or two later, her entire family will now have green cards, and then he'll be divorced and supporting her with alimony, you know?
Yeah, like lost everything.
Yeah, it's terrible. I shouldn't laugh at that, it's disgusting.
No, it's
but
pretty bad.
We're far too trusting, and like that little video we saw of the IEs fighting over the trash. You remember that one?
Shit. Hold on.
Where are we going?
Pull over.
Okay.
We have to, yeah, we're good. Sorry,
okay.
I had to double check.
All right, you know that video? It's in America, and they're two IEs. You can hear them speaking in Chinese, and they're basically digging through the trash.
Yeah.
Because
it's on my Instagram, actually.
Yeah, that's what they do here as well. I mean, it's part of life here. The elderly, either because they are poor or because they are bored, you know.
Right.
They go dig around in the trash for bottles and stuff, and then they recycle them, and it's pretty good. It really helps the whole system here.
For sure, it's actually
positive.
pretty cool. Right.
But then they go to like New York and places, and they do that in New York, which I think it's pretty like poor taste to be digging through the trash in a foreign country.
Yeah. Right.
And then they start having an argument, and people come over and like, "Hey, you know, like, what's going on here?" You know, and then they start like breaking bottles and.
Right.
And it's that kind of thing. Like normal Western people would be like, "Let's not bother them. They're obviously doing something correct, or you know, this is their livelihood or whatever." You know. They're just taking advantage of the goodwill and you know, the honesty of other people.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Like those fake monks that go around and cheat everybody out of their money. They go on a tourist visa and they dress up in a monk robe, you know?
Right,
People don't stop and question them and be like, "Wait, where's your visa? You know, are you on a working visa? You're not allowed to panhandle, you know?" It's
also like foreign tourists in Beijing and stuff will often donate to the most blatant cheaters of beggars, right? Like, very clearly, you know, dishonest people.
Yeah.
You know what's really funny?
What?
I have a photo of this very place.
All right, hang on a second. Before we continue listening to Seamilk wax lyrical about, you know, the good old days when he used to live in this little area, I have to be real with you guys. And the reason that ADVChina even exists, and never mind SerpentZA and Lao86, is because of the use of VPNs.
And if you're in China, or you need to go to China for business or whatever you're going to do, the only way you're going to get past that censorship is to use a VPN. Thankfully, NordVPN, a company that we trust and use for our VPN needs, sponsored this video. If you go to nordvpn.com/ADVChina, you can get a massive discount on a subscription. But VPNs are not only just useful for China's censorship. VPNs can actually protect you, protect your sensitive data, and kind of keep a safety fence around what you do online so that other people, ISPs, and all that kind of stuff can't see your traffic. So also some very good practical uses are things like you want to access Netflix from a different country. You can actually change your IP to do that. You could also go and get cheaper plane tickets by hopping around different countries. So thank you to NordVPN. Thank you to you guys for supporting us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
You know what's really funny?
What?
I have a photo of this very place on my blog.
Okay.
That was one of the most scantily clad, gross beetle nut shops I've ever seen. But we took a photo there, chewing beetle nut, red teeth, right there, and they turn it into like a weird little, what is that?
It's a little restaurant.
It's so sad that like all my old beetle nut haunts are gone.
Well, I mean, they made the skimpy clothing thing kind of illegal, didn't they?
Right, so I guess now it's probably less popular. Anyway, long story short, China, good at deceiving. Very clever.
Yeah, so when it comes to all these news articles and stuff you're reading about they're striving ahead with green technology, I mean, they definitely are putting a lot of effort into it, but you cannot like take it as, oh good, now finally they fixed themselves, you know? It's like, no, they're still the world's worst polluter.
For sure.
You know, they're doing terrible things to the environment here, and they have to really fix that stuff first, I think.
Right. And it's not just hurting themselves, it's hurting the rest of the world as well. I mean, you have traces of Chinese pollution coming into LA and stuff. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what?
What?
See that big tall pink building?
Yep.
That was my apartment.
Oh, okay.
I lived on the 19th floor up there, and it was cheap because it was the perfect height for fireworks when they blew up. Like when they have those ceremonies, so like dead birds would land on my balcony.
That's cool.
It was freaking loud. I used to park my bike down there.
It's a really ugly building.
It's like the worst building I've ever seen in my life. Can you see that other tall building in front of you?
Yep.
That was my old work.
Oh, cool.
That's Hess. I used to be an ESL teacher. Those are the days, Winston. Those are the days.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's not the most picturesque place you lived in, though.
Oh, it will be in about a few hundred meters when we turn up the mountain.
Yeah, that's what I love about Taiwan. It's like that dichotomy. Cool. All right, so I mean, that's what it is. That just always take it with a pinch of salt, man.
Right.
You know.
I wonder if it's my old coworkers are still there. Oh, I used to get a lunchbox right here. The guy's still there. Holy shit! It was like 50 cents for a lunchbox right here.
Yeah, that sounds.
Now it's like $1.50.
Okay.
That's so
kind of
funny.
cool.
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a memory lane here.
Yeah, we can go visit all your old vendors later if you want.
I will. What is this, an RPG?
Yeah.
And you have some provisions, sir.
Yeah. So guys, take all those official announcements and stuff with a pinch of salt.
Yes.
And just be skeptical.
Right.
Anything you want to add before we sign off?
Whether you believe what you hear or you want to see for yourself, we appreciate the fact that you come to us for personal perspectives. It doesn't mean it's the right one.
Yeah.
But it does mean it's a perspective of first-hand knowledge, and we can at least give you that.
We
appreciate
you for
watching.
What we see, you know.
Yeah. Right. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can see videos in the future.
Absolutely. And whether you protect the environment or destroy it, well, we don't really love you if you destroy the environment, to be honest. But you know,
probably not.
You know, we still think there's hope for everyone, and people can change their ways. So
yeah, I like that perspective.
We kind of love you all the same, and you know, we'll catch you in the next one. Until then, stay awesome.
Catch another ADVChina next Monday, same time, same place. Don't forget, Wednesdays you can check out Laowa 86, also at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, my channel, SerpentZA, every Friday just in time for a beer or whiskey over there.